as you say, it's not all positive. I mean, Jesus Christ, you go to my Instagram, and what is up with people? I don't understand why they follow somebody just to talk shit. You go
Yeah.
to my Instagram, and like, I got a decent amount of followers. It's nothing crazy, but I've got like 450,000 or something. So it's a decent number, and I have now roughly around 400 comments per shot, and guarantee 60% of it is people talking shit. And there's just too many to block. You just can't block them all. So I don't even bother looking anymore.
Yeah, you gotta almost embrace it now. Like, I mean, you become desensitized to it after a while. You're also a guy who, you have a very like polarizing personality. So you're a guy that people are gonna love or hate. So you've been dealing with that forever.
Yeah, well, it's funny because at the weekend, obviously, we had Belfort versus Gastelum, and people talking shit about that as well. And I thought I was very complimentary on the FS1 post-fight show. I was saying what a great job Kelvin Gastelum did, and people were still even commenting saying, "Oh my God, you wouldn't even give credit to Kelvin," because I'm assuming you didn't see it, Lewis, and for anyone that didn't see it, here's what I said. I said, Kelvin Gastelum looked amazing. Kelvin Gastelum looked outstanding. He did what I couldn't do. He knocked him out, and he looked calm. He looked relaxed. He looked all these positive things. He looked incredible. I said the only thing is that it's hard to gauge where Kelvin is in the middleweight division, because I think it's fair to say that Vitor Belfort, the one that we saw Saturday night, isn't the Vitor Belfort of 2 years ago. I said he used to be taking testosterone replacement. He was on TRT, testosterone replacement therapy. And, of course, you can see the physical changes. You would have to be a fucking moron not, as a post-fight analyst, not to mention that. Okay, so I was doing my job. Of course, pre-fight, pump the show. It's going to be a great fight. Vitor's a legend. Kelvin Gastelum, not an up-and-comer, but new guy to the division. Yada, yada, yada. Just beat Tim Kennedy. Post-fight analysis, for me not to mention the fact that the apparent change in Vitor's physique, for me not to mention that, I wouldn't be doing my job as an analyst. And I said, so it's hard to gauge. I said, what Kelvin did was amazing. He went out there, he put on a fantastic show and knocked him out in the first round. You can't ask for better than that. But I'm just saying that Vitor is a very difficult yardstick to use right now, because you don't know where he is, because he's lost 4 of his last 5, and all 4 of those were stoppages. So well done, Kelvin. That was amazing. It really was. But does it mean that he's, potential, champion in waiting? It's hard to say because of Vitor's difference these days.
Yeah, and I'll post right now to the Twitter at BYM Pod. I actually sent you this image, the before and after of Vitor from 5 years, from 2012 when he first came back to the UFC to 2017. I mean, you're right. It is night and day difference. You're looking at like a guy who, and by the way, compared to me, he looks great. Let's get real here. I'm not want to talk shit on anybody's body, but comparatively, if you look at it, looks like 2 different people. And it is so obvious that the TRT was doing something for Vitor. I mean, this guy in his later years in his career had this crazy resurgence, and it was doing wonders for him. And it's almost kind of, I don't want to say sad, but it makes me feel bad to watch him kind of get in there now and get killed the way he's getting killed, comparatively to kind of where he was. Let me ask you a question. Does the UFC kind of discourage you from shitting on the guys for taking steroids?
To be honest, obviously we have production meetings when we work at Fox Sports, FS1 as it's now called. And we have production meetings, and of course, we discuss what we're going to say. And I even say, I said, well, the steroids thing is an issue. And they're like, listen, Michael, they're not going to tell me what to say and what not to say, but they would prefer it if I didn't focus on the negatives too much. And of course, But here's the thing, and I'm not trying to shit on Vitor. I'm really not. I mean, I'm looking at that picture now, Lewis. Holy crap. Yeah. On the left, there's a beast of a man, and on the right, he still looks decent, but the difference is stark. It really is. It's day and night, absolute day and night. But listen, for all my personal differences with Vitor aside, and my, long time stance against performance-enhancing drugs, and I do believe testosterone replacement therapy was performance-enhancing drugs. It was definitely performance-enhancing drugs, and the fact that all these people were taking it and allowed to take it for so long really was, a blemish on this sport. It was absolutely ridiculous, and I think it made the sport look like it was not a credible sport, because you wouldn't be able to get away with it anywhere. Anyway. Eventually, the athletic commissions, they got onto this and they outlawed it. Now, the funny thing is, is that all these people that were on testosterone replacement therapy, they're still competing to these days. I mean, look at Vitor. He's still competing. So, as I say, Vitor, you know, listen, you got to give the guy credit. He was a heavyweight champion back in the day, juiced out of his mind, yes. He was a light heavyweight champion back in the day, juiced out of his mind, of course.
I love how you're giving him credit.
Pardon me?
I love how you're giving him credit.
Yeah, and he went on an absolute tear in the middleweight division, and, you know, you got to give him credit for that. But was he juiced out of his mind? Absolutely, 100%. Now he's not juiced out of his mind. It's a different Vitor. It's a different person. He's been stopped 4 times out of his last 5. You know, so and God bless him. You know, I mean, I don't wish ill will on people. I don't want anyone to get hurt. But the better man won on Saturday night, and you know, I think Vitor should hang it up.
Well, Vitor said he's got one more fight in him, and then that's it. He's gonna retire.
You know what I would like? I would like Vitor to have to go out there and face some young kid that's roided out of his mind.
Yeah.
Just to let him know what it's like. You know what I mean? Stick him in there with somebody down in Brazil who's fiddling the system, who's roided out of his mind, and he's just got superpowers because of his steroids, but fails his test, granted, but still Vitor has to know what that feels like, because, you know, it's just such an unfair advantage. It's such an unfair playing field. And I say it all the time. You know, until somebody dies, nobody's going to realize what a problem this is and the advantages that they have. And one day, mark my words, you know, I mean, you saw it at our helping, you know, but it's only a matter of time before someone dies, pays the ultimate price, and then everybody will think, holy shit, okay, something needs to be done.
Well, in terms of a real opponent, I mean, if Vitor is going to do one final fight, it's you know, the 185-pound division. He had mentioned wanting to do something like a Legends division, which is just kind of not for the UFC. Look, if they wanted to do a Legends league they were fighting in Costa Rica and they were bringing in, like, you know, Hoist versus you know, whoever, right? I don't actually have a problem with that. If these guys want to fight, like, yeah, dude, I'd watch that. I'd watch that in a heartbeat. But I believe the UFC, you know, they're trying to be the premier league. The guys who are fighting in the UFC, I believe they should be the best fighters in the world. I don't think that Major League Baseball should offer a Legends league for older men who can't compete with the younger guys anymore. You know, if you can't compete anymore, maybe it's time to hang it up. But Vitor, nonetheless, has said he wants to have one more fight. Who do you think the final fight should be? It has to be somebody older. It has to be somebody that's on his way out.
Yeah, no, let's give him a kid juice out of his mind. No, so, I mean, here's the thing. The Legends thing, that's just pathetic. I mean, talk about wanting to stick around but make it easy for yourself. Okay, let's fight. Let's take out the knees, take out the elbows. We'll wear padded gloves. You know, it's just ridiculous. Listen, you've had a great career. As I said, heavyweight champ, light heavyweight champ, right? You've done it all. Move on. Just because you're still trying to get paid out of it, that's all it is. A Legends division, come on, nobody wants to watch that. Nobody wants to watch it, and it's laughable at best. I did say on Fox Sports on Saturday night, FS1, pardon me, a good fight, an interesting fight that a lot of people would pay to see would be him versus Anderson Silva again. I mean, Anderson's got to be close to the end of his career. Vitor obviously said one more fight. They did fight once before in Brazil. There's a fight card coming up in Rio. I think Anderson Silva versus Vitor Belfort 2 in Rio. I mean, that would be fantastic, you know, to see them two again, and two legends going up against one another, you know, so that would be my pick.
Yeah, look, I mean, I think that makes sense. My only problem with it is, to be honest with you, Vitor he got caught, but he got embarrassed in that last fight with that front kick. And it's not like Vitor's looked like he's declined like 5 times since then, whereas Anderson's declined, but not that type of decline. Anderson Silva still seems to be able to compete.
You know, and the funny thing is as well is that, because Friday night, I'm friends with the Prince of Saudi Arabia. Talk about that for a name drop. And popped round to his house on Friday night, and he's friends with Anderson Silva. He's a guy, we call him Mash, and he's the coolest guy. He's the biggest MMA fan ever. And I went to his house, and he gave me an Anderson Silva T-shirt to wear. So for a joke, he said, "Come on," he said, "Put it on, put it on." So I put it over my shirt, and I pretended I was on my phone, and he took a picture, and he sent it to Anderson Silva. And if you go on Instagram or whatever, on Anderson Silva's Instagram, it's doing the rounds everywhere now, and he's using that as a... he thinks it's funny. He thinks, oh, he must still admire me. It's like, no, dude, we sent it for a joke. It was a setup. And he's trying to get the rematch again.
That's the picture that I sent you, right? I didn't realize that because you see, he posted the picture of you, and I didn't realize that I didn't even notice you were wearing an Anderson Silva shirt.
Yeah, I'm wearing an Anderson Silva shirt because I thought it was funny. I thought I'd put it on, and then the Prince is like, "Listen, I just screw the UFC. I pay money. You two fight in my garden. You fight in my garden." So, but no, he's an awesome guy, and I was having a bit of fun there with Anderson. Listen, at the end of the day, I respect Anderson. How can you not respect the career that Anderson's had? He's, come on, he was one of the guys that helped build the sport. So that was a bit of fun. And even though we had that fight, and then we talked a little bit of trash afterwards, I don't really think there's any bad blood. So I don't mind sticking a T-shirt on and having a bit of fun.